Hey YouTube, Uzumakihyuga. It's been a while since I've done a video at all, and you probably noticed that what I have on the screen has absolutely nothing to do with Yu-Gi-Oh! In any way, shape, or form. That's because I decided to do something different. Recently, I found out about the Resident Evil deck building game, and what I decided to do is give you a full review on it, tell you my views on how it's good or bad, explain it as best as I can, all in this one video. Note that as I'm explaining it, all of this is based on my first glances and looks at the rulebook and trying it a few times. I am not going to say that I'm an expert at the game. I haven't done any playing of this game other than with my friends Lala Chan and her brother. And I will also say that anything I say involving this game is, one, based on my opinion completely and nobody else, and two, coming from the perspective of someone who knows little to nothing about Resident Evil, because I have not played the Resident Evil games. But with that in mind, let's open this up. As you can see from this, there are a lot of cards involved. Setup actually takes a long time, but we're not going to do a full setup because we're not doing a full game. At the start of the game, there are certain things you need. First, we'll talk about the characters. Each character has its own unique abilities and its own unique HP, health. Even if you have two characters that are exactly the same as far as who they are, they might have different health and different abilities. The health here indicates how many hits you have until you die. More about that later. These are the levels of the character. With each level it gains a new ability. Most of them are usually to help. Some very rare cases they actually hurt or can give the card conditions. From character cards you also have weapon cards, actions, items. And that's it. Weapons, items, action. And ammo. Weapon cards are your basic way of fighting things. You have ammo and you have damage. Damage is how much you do to whatever you fight. Ammo, you can see 10 and 10. This 10 gold means your ability to buy things. The prices are right here on the cards. Items like this are used to help your card. The only ones that exist right now are healing. And actions are basically like magic cards in the game, except you can only use one per turn. You can use them whenever you want and they can do things like draw or give you extra ability to do things that you're not supposed to. Basically the way the game goes, you start off with 7 of these, what I have exactly, 1 handgun, and then 2 knives. You can use these to buy more items, and then as you're buying items, you're actually building your deck and making it bigger and bigger. So it starts off as 10 and it can get as many of these as you think you need. Part of the strategy is trying to figure out what you need and when. And even if you do need things earlier on, you might find that later some things aren't necessary. For example, if I can find this stupid thing, this card is really good early on because it's a merchant. As you can guess from what that means, it helps you buy things. It makes it easier. Of course, there's only a limited number of things that are actually going to be on the board for you able to buy. Usually about 18. And each of those 18 has only so many of each one. You know, like a store. So when you get later into the game, this is probably not going to be very useful. So you're going to want to use something like one of these to get rid of it. If you get rid of it, it goes back into the pile where you buy things. I'm not using any official terms because anyone who's looking at this probably doesn't know anything about what I'm talking about. These cards, you'll probably notice that they look different from everything else. They're called the mansion cards. Every turn, you have the ability to go into the mansion at least once. When you do, you'll fight one of these. These are the enemies. You have their health, which you're taking away with weapons. If you can take out all the health in one go, then they die. And then they equip to your character, and then this number is how many points you get. This is the damage. If you can't beat them, they do this much damage to your health, and then they go back to the bottom. Some cards like this have special effects that happen either when they die, if they can't die, and even some come up just from them appearing. This is the big boss. If you kill this, the game actually ends in one of the modes. This game has a lot of different variations that you can play it in, and it gives you enough cards to do whatever you want. There are actually literally more cards in here than you need for any one game. So it's up to you to figure out what you're going to use and when. But for the main mode of the game, aka the story mode, as soon as you beat this, that's when you start tallying up the score, the points here, and whoever has the most wins. If it's a tie, whoever has the most health wins. So what you have to do throughout the course of this game is take turns buying whatever you want for your character, making sure you have enough guns, ammo, equipment, and whatever you need, so that you can take on these guys and not die. The game itself says that it takes about 45 minutes to an hour for you to play, but if you're just starting, or if you're actually careful and not reckless, it'll usually take you around 2 to 3 hours just for you to actually play and finish the game. That's not counting the time it takes you to actually figure out what all the cards do properly. There are a bunch of different strategies that involve in it, but I'll just get down to the final verdict. Is this fun? For me explaining it, none of this probably sounds fun, entertaining, or amusing in any way, shape, or form. But surprisingly enough, it actually is entertaining to actually sit down and play this game. There's a lot of different combinations of what certain individual characters can do for the experience. For example, these two Chris Redfields. They may look exactly the same, but one has more health than the other, for one thing. So one of them's going to last longer in a fight without needing to heal. The one with the most health, believe it or not, doesn't have the ability to heal. But he also can power up his own weapons just from leveling up enough. With this one, even though he has less health, he has the ability to reduce damage from attacks. So that's just a really basic example of how different two characters can be. And with each character, you'll probably have different strategies of what you want to do. Just so you know, there are a total of 13 character cards in the game, and all the character cards are shuffled and played individually. This is a 1 to 4 player game. Up to 4 people can play this, or you can just do it by yourself if you have no friends. And the actual strategy of building your deck based on cards anybody can use, putting them all together, and fighting you have no idea what until you actually get in, it's actually enjoyable. It gives you a thinking sense that you don't get from a Yugioh duel. It takes longer, but you feel like it's more strategy, and you feel more in control of everything. It's not as luck-based, because anything that's in your deck that you're drawing, you know you put it in there. And also, I guess I can explain the structure of how a turn goes, just to wrap this up. The way a turn goes is, you draw 5 cards from your deck. Every turn you draw 5. You can use ammo to buy things based on the gold, or you can just use it equipped with guns. You can't use a gun unless it has enough ammo. So they have 10, 20s, and 30s for cards. Each one has different ammo and different gold. And as soon as you feel confident enough with the damage from your guns, and you can equip more than one weapon at a time also, as long as you have the ammo to actually pick up the slack for it. You can go in, you can fight something, and then you already know what happens there. You can only buy once per turn, you can only use an action once per turn, you can only fight once per turn, and there are action cards that literally change all of this. And this is why I didn't want to use specific terms, because it sounds boring and confusing. Main part. The game is fun, it's enjoyable, it's time consuming, but it feels as worth it as something like this would be. So I would say that the Resident Evil deck building game is Uzumakihyuga approved. So this is me, Uzumakihyuga, signing out.